All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside In Tennis Podcast. Mitch Michals here, all part of the Believe Network as the tennis season rolls along, and reminding you can get the show on all your apps, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're knee-deep in clay season. This is a fun time of year. Joined now on the show, recurring guest of the program, the, dare I say, the voice of Tennis Channel. I'm going to say it. He's the guy you hear, you know, TC's on. Host of TC Live, been in the game for a while, out of Northwestern. His credentials are one of the best. Steve Weissman joining the show. Steve, always a blast to have you on the show, and excited to talk tennis with you.
Thanks for having me, Mitch. Always a pleasure to join you. And, we were talking at the studio the other day. There's a lot to discuss. It's a fun time to be a fan of tennis right now, and excited to talk about it.
I know, and isn't it the best, right? Because you're more prepared than I am, I'll admit. But I like to prepare
I don't know about
too.
that.
I like to prepare, but it's hard to prepare out because each day there's a new storyline that throws you for a loop. So you can prepare, but you have to also be ready to roll with the punches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think obviously before TC Live, we're ready to go, and then the power goes out in Madrid, right? So then you change everything. Show goes to an hour, kind of change all the topics, and but that's why we have the best analysts in all of tennis on Tennis Channel, because they're so good at adapting to everything I throw at them and giving the best sort of responses and use their experiences to get the viewer to really know what's going on.
Yeah, I want to get to Madrid and that curveball that was thrown, but your individual schedule, I know you're, one of the hardest working people, not just in tennis, but in sports, but there was a lot going in, and this is the time of the year, the American swing into clay, where you're just on the road, on the grind, and traveling to and from California on site. But what was it like Indian Wells, then back from Miami, then Charleston, where we have the desk and you're there every day? How is your schedule like, the grind of just nonstop tennis every day?
I mean, I thrive on that, Mitch. I don't like days off. I really enjoy kind of grinding and working all the time. I love my job. I love what I do. And I think, what they say, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. So I love the people I work with as well. But yeah, I mean, Indian Wells kind of starts a real long stretch. I like to say my only two somewhat chill months are February and December, because I basically work all of January. I don't think maybe one day off in January. Then February is a little more chill. And then, starting with Indian Wells, here we go. I love Indian Wells. Tennis paradise, doesn't get any better than that. So, that's probably, I like to tell people, my most intense tournament of the year, because I'm never not working. I get there at maybe 8 a.m., something like that, makeup, pre-tape an interview, then we do TC Live from 10 to 11, and then I'm on the desk until the start of the night session around 6:30. It depends on the day. Could be a little earlier, could be a little later, but then I literally go back to the hotel and start writing TC Live for the next day. So unlike an event like Paris, where maybe I'm working more hours, but we don't have TC Live. So that's a show that I'm writing at home, and that takes hours to write. So yeah, Indian Wells is like literally zero time off. Not complaining at all. I love it. Yeah. But and then I get to come back to LA for Miami, which is great, because I get to get back in my routine, watch some sunsets, do a little yoga, but also, still do TC Live every single day. And then, fly straight to Charleston, which is arguably my favorite city, in America. And that might be my favorite tournament. They treat us so well there. The tournament's amazing. It's run beautifully. I talk about you hear about Southern hospitality. It exudes that, unlike anything I've ever seen. The nicest people I've ever been around in my life. The food is amazing. Some of my favorite restaurants are there. And unlike other tournaments where, we request players, there they just come. Like, it's not even like they just know, like they're coming to the desk, right? So, and they love it, I think. So, it's fun for me because it's the only event of the year where I'm by myself. And, I love that. I get to, have those one-on-one conversations, and that's where you get the best interviews. Yeah. And so, I get to spend, 7 to 10 minutes with these players, and that's where I really develop those relationships, and hopefully that comes out, and, just really get get the best for the viewer and try to have fun and have a really good time. So, and then I come right back and it's Monte Carlo and it's, Madrid and it's Rome, and then I'm off to Paris. So it's nonstop, but that's why we love it.
I think there's a Tennis Channel bump in there too, because you've done a great job of the hospitality you mentioned, but the tournament, Charles, like this year was one of the most loaded fields. Like they love playing there. They love the pomp and circumstance. Everybody does a great job. You highlighted the writing in there, which I think is an underrated part of your job. And what you do is people see like on the broadcast side, interviewing and doing the TV stuff, but there's a lot of writing preparation that goes in. I love the interviews with the players because you get some of the most, interesting, sometimes revealing facts that come out, parts of these players that they don't share maybe publicly. But it's also true, like you've done this so much, Steve, that you're building a rapport that I think players are starting to, they have been, but the more you talk to them, they open up a little more and maybe tell you things that they don't tell other interviewers.
Yeah, I mean, I consider a lot of them friends. So, I think that helps a lot as well. So I'm not only seeing them when they come to the desk, right? I see them at dinner. I see them in the player lounge. I see them at the player party. For some of these players, like I'm hanging out with them outside of the court and getting dinner or, doing a Friendsgiving or something like that. And so that just leads to a friendly conversation. Now, that doesn't take away from the preparation because, like you said, I mean, writing is the backbone of everything I do. I write every TC Live. And by the way, we don't have a teleprompter, so it's not like I'm reading anything. It's just, I like to be over prepared. And then a lot of times I don't use that stuff. But for the interviews, once somebody wins the first set, I have a 5x7 note card and I start writing questions for that player. And then if the other person wins the second set, then I start writing a card for that player. And then whatever happens in the third set, we adjust. But I have a full card of questions and I can ask, I could be out there for a half hour. It really doesn't matter. I'll ask you questions for days. There's never going to be something where it's like, oh, got to really stretch here. Like I'll dig deep on something you tweeted 5 years ago or whatever, So we're talking about, there's so much to talk about, Mitch.
There is.
and it's fun. But a lot of times, like I remember with Emma Navarro, one of the interviews, I think I got to, there's always something about the match and tennis and stuff like that. For me, the fun stuff is beyond tennis. But so I asked her something about Charleston and the three places or the three things you've got to do if you go there. And she's talking about these like trash can nachos and all this other stuff. And I didn't get to 3/4 of the questions I had prepared for her because you just follow up. And that's something that I don't think you really get when you have two people doing the interview because it's so structured. I'm not saying it's a bad interview. I'm just saying it's a different interview. Because when it's one-on-one, listening is such a huge part of it. And yes, you can follow up when it's 2-on-1, but it's a different situation. So being able to just listen, follow up on that, and just go with one topic for 5 minutes, I think that's where you get the best stuff.
Yeah, and some of the foreshadowing too, like the clip with Veronika Kudermetova, and you mentioned her sister, and then they end up playing each other. So it's good.
I was actually going to bring that up to her, and she brought it up. So I thought it was amazing. So I was like, I've always wanted to know since January or February when Polina passed her in the rankings. I was like, what does Veronica think about this? Like, this has got to start a fire under her, because she's like, my baby sis is going to pass me in the rankings. And that's exactly what she said. So that was pretty cool for her to bring it up.
We've done tremendous work. And before we get to the current topics, just one last thing. I do want the inside info. Doesn't have to be right now, but on Danielle Collins' chicken coop, because that's the story I'm kind of fascinated for.
I mean, the names, like that gets me every time. They all have these different names and personalities. And she just posted something the other day that I don't know if they were chickens, but maybe they were birds. Something was hatching in her garden of animals and fruits and vegetables, and so there's new life in her world, but she's amazing with the dog she rescued obviously in Miami, and bringing Mr. Q to Charleston, and the chickens and everything she's got going on, and just a joy to be around, and somebody that I'm glad is still on the tour this year, and somebody that I think is going to be a future Tennis Channel TV analyst star. I think she's got that quality. So whenever she hangs it up, can't wait to be next to her on the desk.
It's awesome. It's great to see her, embracing life and just enjoying it. And I think that's great. And yeah, be careful with those hawks and those chicken coop. That's the one piece of advice I have. Is,
Do you have chickens?
No, I have a friend that has chickens, and yeah, you have to be very careful of, supervising them. But chicken talk later.
Too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Steve, we're gonna talk about the road to Roland Garros, the Madrid Open. It's been crazy, and the story as we record this Thursday episode out the same day is what Coco Gauff just did to Iga Swiatek. 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, which is not a scoreline that Iga gets. It's usually what she dishes out, but Gauff beats her down, beats her very, very one-sided. On clay, first time she's beaten her. 3 straight wins for Coco, and somebody that has been building towards something in this tournament. It was a interesting first-round matchup against Jastrzemska. She gets through. Since then, it's been one-way traffic. This match for Gauff, starting with this perspective, was a warning shot. You guys highlighted this on TC Live yesterday. If she wins, this is a statement win. You can't make a stronger statement than what we saw this morning.
No, you can't. I mean, it's more than a warning shot. I mean, it's the shot. Yeah. I said it in January when she beat her at the United Cup. I said she's totally changed the dynamic of this rivalry. And Coco's coming for the top spot. And I got so much blowback. Every time Coco would lose and Iga would win. And by the way, this is not an anti-Iga thing. I think Iga is amazing. Mm-hmm. This is a Coco thing. And, winning at the WTA Finals, winning at the United Cup, changed the dynamic of the rivalry. And I said it on TC Live last night. This is a statement match. If she beats her on clay, now it's a totally different ball game. And not only did she beat her on clay, she destroyed her on clay. And so this rivalry has changed. Coco's changed. It doesn't mean that like Coco and Sabalenka is different or, Ostapenko and whatever.
Right,
but
just this one. Yeah.
That this rivalry, this dynamic is on, because it was 7-0, 14-0 in sets. It was 11-1. Now it's 11-4, 3 straight. Hasn't dropped a set in any of those. And you beat her on her best surface. The only player that hasn't given up a break point to Iga Swiatek on clay in the history of Iga Swiatek's life. That's crazy. Fewest games she's won on second fewest games she's ever, won on clay. One time in 2019, she only won 1 game. This one's 2, but that's before she was Iga.
Yeah.
So you can say Iga didn't have a great day. You can say Iga hasn't had a great tournament. But even against Maddie Keys when she got bageled, she came back and won. Even against Alex Ayala when she lost a set, she came back and won. So she didn't come back. She did nothing. This was legit. So I don't think this is an off day for Iga. I think this was a spectacular performance for Coco Gauff. Madrid, you could say, okay, the altitude, it's a little bit different. I mean, what she did on serve today was remarkable. Every aspect of the game, it was on. And if she wins another match, she passes Iga in the rankings as well. So, by the way, Iga Swiatek just made the semifinals of an event. So that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. If she'd lost in the first round, I'd be a little more concerned. She's still backing up Rome. She's still backing up Roland Garros. She's the favorite, in my opinion, at Roland Garros. But, next time she plays Coco, I don't know.
Similar thoughts that with Coco, where like she had some results that weren't there, but still Iga has made the quarterfinals of I think all the big events this year. So it's
every single event she's played, she's made the quarters. That's
only player that can say that too. Yep. I agree with the Coco side. I think it was phenomenal. Her variety, she was mixing it up. She wasn't getting flustered. She was, causing Iga to get flustered. I do think it was a bad day at the office for Iga, but those things happen. And when you play great players, those things tend to happen. It was a little weird to see her rattled. Like I can't ever recall, Steve, her getting a code violation. And I'm not saying that's like a detriment to her as a human being, but it's just something that never happens. And Coco was making life difficult for her. At times, Iga had been able to target weaknesses, target that Coco forehand. Coco did a good job dictating pressure. And I saw her mixing in loft balls, coming to the net, playing baseline rallies. It was methodical. That was, from my vantage point, it looked like someone that had a clear game plan that went out and executed it.
Yeah, and when Coco's at her best, she has the game that can do that. Just like a Sabalenka, just like an Ostapenko. I mean, Coco serves big. I know everybody talks about her serve, It's not the first serve. If she gets that first serve in, she serves really big and can cause a ton of trouble for her opponent.
Yeah.
People talk about the forehand. Listen, when she's set up and swings through it, it's fantastic. The backhand can set up everything. I don't worry about Coco Gauff. She's 21 years old. I think she's going to get to number one in the world. I think she's going to win so many more majors. Now, Iga's been the one, and she has overtaken her at this point in this matchup. You can't argue that. Like, you say, oh, those happened in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 straight wins within, I think, like 6 months. And this one on clay, it just like, you can talk about off day all you want. Like, 1-1 doesn't lie.
Yeah, it doesn't. I will say, if we're going to speculate, we love doing that in media and on podcasts. I think motivation came for Coco for Mirra Andreeva. I think that might have lit a spark under her. And she beat her in that match, which, by the way, Andreeva had 2 set points. Coco fends them off, wins the set, steamrolls her in the second. Having a younger player, a player in your quote-unquote era or a little younger than you come up, I think that might have been, okay, time to kick it into gear. And look, Coco enters RG right now, I think still the 4th favorite. She has the potential to beat the top 3 in this tournament. So we'll see what happens with Sabalenka if she gets to the final. But
yeah,
phenomenal
that's a great
stuff.
point about Andreeva, because I think Mirra has solidified herself as like a top 10 player for the next decade, and I also think she's going to get to number 1 in the world and win multiple majors. So that's a great point. That there's a little motivation there. You see this teenager just turned 18, and you want to, now she's won 3 straight against her. And you want to, keep yourself, in the driver's seat, especially when you walk on that court, because Mirra's a confidence player. She is a confident young lady. And so Coco wants to walk on the court, kind of having that extra swagger against her going forward.
There's no obviously writing off Iga, 4-time Roland Garros champ, but I think it is safe to say less momentum going in, a little more vulnerability with Coco stepping up and Sabalenka and Andreeva there.
No doubt. It's so tough though, because listen, when you win Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros, like, you have to defend all that, right? And so that's a tough proposition to be walking into for any player. That's a lot of pressure, no matter who you are. So I have empathy for Iga, and to make it to the semifinals after all the somewhat struggles she was having on the court over the past couple of weeks, I think is a good result. See what happens in Rome. She still has to be the favorite.
Oh yeah.
Even if she lost first round next 2 tournaments, I think she's still the favorite at
Absolutely.
Roland Garros.
Yeah, and Sabalenka would be
lose first round next 2 tournaments, but
Sabalenka would be the only one there. And her, it's interesting, right? She wins a really intense, emotional match against Marta Kostyuk. Gets Svitolina today at the time of recording this, but her only clay titles were won at Madrid. She's won this tournament twice, and she's somebody that has talk about number 1 ranking. The gap between her and Iga or Coco is huge. So Sabalenka's put some distance in the field. I feel like they'll clay success. If she has a run or wins Roland Garros, I should say, that puts her in an insane stratosphere.
It really does. And people aren't talking about that enough. Like, she's number 1 by a mile. And I know she lost to because there's like, for the first couple months of the year, Maddie Keys was the best player in the world. And then 2 weeks later, Mirra Andreeva was the best player in the world. Now, all that said, Aryna Sabalenka is far and away the number 1 ranked player in the world and may become the best player in the world again, because right now it's kind of a little up in the air. I guess you could say she is, but not by results of tournaments. I mean, Mirra still has 2 1000s. Maddie won the only slam and had like 17 wins in a row. And she's doing really well, by the way. I put her much higher on winning Roland Garros than a lot of people do. In fact, I may put Maddie higher than Coco in terms of winning Roland Garros. And that's not taking anything away from anyone. I just really believe in Keys heading into RG. But if Sabalenka wins Roland Garros, that's and also she's been the only one to at every major consistently make the semifinals. Every single one. Doesn't take a major off. Like Iga, I don't know what's going on with her at Wimbledon, but just can't figure things out. Obviously Jessie Pegula, I haven't brought her name up. Very consistent, week in, week out. I still think she will win a major at some point. But Sabalenka's been the most consistent. That's why she's number one. And I still put Iga right
Yeah.
now as the favorite at Roland Garros, but it's if we talk next week or the week after, that could change.
It's like, look at what it took from Keys to beat Sabalenka. One of the best efforts I've seen. And it's still like got her by the finish line. So yeah, that's a testament there. Tough one with Svitolina. We'll see. She's someone that's just been racking up on the clay.
I'd love to see Svitolina win, but
I know.
She is like a semifinal player. And I know she won Rouen. Like she's won almost 20 titles in her career. So she wins a lot of titles. But when it comes to these like 1000s and Grand Slams, she's like a semifinal player. She beats everyone she should beat, but doesn't beat the players above her. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of like a David Ferrer, who had an incredible career. We'll see.
Put yourself in those positions. Maybe the draw breaks your way, but yeah, it's tough for sure. Steve Weissman here on the Inside in Tennis podcast. On the men's front, we've got interesting semifinalists. We've got one match still to go, but it wasn't the Madrid Open we thought. I think a lot of that too, Steve, was Djokovic going out early. Novak loses early. He's not going to play Rome, so we'll see what happens if he plays Geneva or the week before Roland Garros. But as it stands right now, 3-match losing streak on the clay, which is unheard of in any level, and skipping out on Rome next week. So it's an interesting time, and people are going to wonder what the end looks like, when it's going to come. But Djokovic, lower than he's been on and off, or on the court, I should say, in a very long time.
It's tough for me to worry about GOATs.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for me to pick against the best. It's somewhat worrisome that he is not playing Rome. Obviously, 3 straight losses is not great. And that's for the second time this year as well. All that said, he made the final in Miami. Lost a tough match at the Australian Open. For me, all that matters for Novak Djokovic is majors. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter if he wins another 1,000. He got the gold, so that mattered. 25 is all that matters. Right. So playing these 1,000s, I think it would be tough to get ultimate motivation heading into them for somebody who's done everything that he's done at this stage of his career and at this stage of his life. So I expect him to play Roland Garros. I expect him to play well at Roland Garros. There's no reason why he shouldn't. Same thing at Wimbledon. Mm-hmm. So those are the only ones that matter. Whatever he needs to do to get himself in the best position physically, emotionally, and spiritually to show up at his top rate at the Grand Slams is what I believe he should be focusing on, because 25 is all that matters to Novak Djokovic, and I still believe in him.
I do too. As there's some qualifiers. I'm going to say, like the health. We want to make sure he's healthy, and there's the first time he's really had to deal with some lingering or sustained injuries, like the hamstring in Australia. When I heard on Tennis Channel Milos Raonic say this too, when he was asked about him on second serve, it made me kind of think I wasn't too dumb in my takes, but he's in a weird way needs some matches. Like, it's not about Steve playing and winning these Masters 1000s, because I agree, the motivation, the guy's won everything. He's the GOAT, obviously. But getting some reps, even a player like him needs some repetition to experience what a match is. Not that he needs a lot of it, but yeah, needing some matches is a weird thing to say about Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
That said, I think at a Grand Slam you can work your way into it because it's 3 out of 5. If it was like he really needs to win Cincinnati or something, okay, you probably need some matches, because 2 out of 3 upsets happen. They just do.
They do.
We've seen it time and time again. 3 out of 5 for the GOATs, upsets rarely happen. You can be down 2 sets to love, like he's been multiple times, and still come back and win. Because he is who he is. So yeah, I don't disagree. Like, you'd like to have some matches, but like, say he loses in the 3rd round, like, is that so much better for him? I don't know. For somebody that's done all that he's done, I think he's okay. And honestly, I look more towards Wimbledon than anything else. I think he should be a favorite at Roland Garros because he's won that more times than anyone else who's shown up to play it. And, arguably the second best clay court player of all time. So, and we're in an era right now where nobody is a lock. 0 players are a lock on the men's side to win anything. We don't know what we're going to get from Jannik Sinner. First, we're going to see him as Rome. He's never been to a final at a big event, Masters 1000 or Grand Slam on clay. So I don't know. I mean, he's never made it past the quarterfinals, I believe, in Rome. So this isn't his favorite surface. Not that he can't eventually get there, but Carlos Alcaraz should be the favorite. That said, as we know, he's not infallible. Like the big three. The big three were infallible, and we still have one of them, and that's Novak Djokovic. So it's really anybody's ball game, and I tend to favor the ones who have been there, done it before, and have the mental fortitude to go through it.
I'm with you there. Alcaraz deserves the spot, even if he doesn't play Rome.
Yeah,
he's won it twice. He's won it here. He knows what he's doing on clay. That said, though,
health-wise is healthy too.
Yeah, health-wise is a big thing, and he's had some dips. So Sinner coming back at just the right time in Rome too. So we need him back.
Watch him win Rome. I know. RG.
So it opens up the question though of other guys on the men's side that can make runs, and what we're seeing. Not just the result today, but Steve, he's always just around on these clay events. But Casper Ruud just finds his way, and this he having a 1,000 title, which could happen this time too. I looked at his prices of what his odds are to win the tournament in RG, and I know it hasn't happened before, but he's made finals. His game suits the play. He had impressive wins over Fritz and Medvedev. Ruud was the one I'm looking at because, as you said, look at who's had success here before, and he's of all the guys that haven't won the RG, probably the best one up.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm surprised because yesterday, Jack Draper, when it came to the quarterfinals, was the highest ranked man left in the draw. And that's weird to say considering Casper Ruud is in that draw. So the ranking, has dipped a little bit. Obviously he's still a top 10 player. But this is a guy who's made, a couple finals at Roland Garros and ran into the greatest of all time on that surface. One of the greatest of all time on any surface. And so, that's tough.
Yeah.
And he's always there. He's always there. Nobody talks about him enough. So I love that you bring him up. They also had the golf thing at Madrid. So I think that got him a little hyped up, trying to get on the island green. But you got to make him the favorite the rest of the way in Madrid. He's taking on Cerundolo next. And
tricky matchup for him.
Tricky matchup. Francisco Cerundolo is like low-key baller.
That forehand on
not
clay.
Even low-key anymore,
that forehand on clay is just like a real weapon.
Forehand on anything. He's so good. But I favor Ruud. I favor Ruud. To me, Casper Ruud needs to believe in himself like the big three believe in themselves.
Yeah.
He needs to believe that he should win Roland Garros. He needs to believe that he is the guy to win Madrid. I think the game is there. I think physically he's there. I think it's mental. I think it's he has to believe. If he doesn't believe, he's not going to do it. And I don't think heading into the finals at Roland Garros he believed. I don't know if he believed heading in to the other major finals he played. I think he's happy being a top 5 player and being right there and being so close. He's got to believe. I want to tell him. I want to be like, Casper, you can do it, but I can't tell you. You have to think that walking onto that court, you're the man. Like, this is your title.
Right.
Nobody's taking that from you. If he believes that, I think he does it.
Do you think there's scar tissue for, we've said it with Zverev and other players, but getting to a final and losing a couple times, and not just 2 RG finals, Djokovic and Nadal, but also Alcaraz, the U.S. Open. Is there some scar tissue of being so close a couple times?
The most.
Yeah.
His body is like a skeleton of scar tissue.
You're like right there, though. It's like it's hard to relate. You can't relate to it. It's like you haven't won a major yet.
I think that's the difference between. I think Zverev believes more that he should win than Casper does when he steps out on that court. So his, in my opinion, the issue there is that when he's really close to getting it, that's when those thoughts creep in. Not at the start of the match. Start of the match, he's like, I'm the man. But like then he gets close and he's like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
Remember what happened.
Of course.
Remember what happened. And then he gets super tight. And by the way, I have so much empathy for that because that's normal. That's a normal human emotion, and everybody has gone through that. Roger, Rafa, Novak, Serena, like they all went through that. They all went through nerves. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
And so, that's something that when we're out playing tennis, it means nothing. Like literally means nothing. And a second serve, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How am I going to get this in? And it means nothing. So imagine being Alexander Zverev, having been to major finals and, for lack of a better word, choked.
That one was the worst. Like,
close again.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to come into play. And it's just like, can you get through that or not? And the greatest players get through that more often than not. They are mentally stronger in those moments. I don't know if Zverev's ever going to overcome that.
It's going to be tough, especially given the track record of some of the players coming up. He had an interesting comment today, and it made me think too, where he said, and every player's entitled to their opinion. He said it's harder to make the top 10 now than it was. And his argument was that he obviously Big Four greatest ever, but he's saying the depth of the top 10 wasn't quite the same. And I could see it. I'd have to dive into it a little more. I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
That's my gut reaction.
Okay.
So Musetti just made it making it for the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, De Minaur just got in recently. Draper got in this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a handful of guys making it for the first time recently. So does that mean it's harder or easier? I don't know.
I think it's more so he's saying the players are better at the depth is a little stronger than it was. I don't know. That's
I think that's fascinating because like Bublik said that to Mohamed Leani. He's like, can you believe it? Like
Mensik,
5 years ago, it was so easy. I was like, bro, do you realize nobody had a chance to win anything 5 years ago? Now you have a chance.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
You said you bring him up though, because his growth in the last, couple of months really has been really impressive. Not just for the kit that's taken the internet by storm. Everyone loves his gear now, which is great. But
dude, have you seen his arms?
Yeah,
like he's on the Prakash Amitraj regimen.
He is.
Dude is jacked. And we didn't because he never wore shirts like this before.
No.
And by the way, props to him for waiting to wear the cutoff.
Yeah, that's
until you got the gun. You can't go out there. I think I'm not going to name that. There's been some players who have gone out there sleeveless that are not as
get him out.
Muscular.
Yeah.
This dude, I don't know, hit the gym, got ready, arms swole, and now he's showing it. And I'm like, come on, Lord.
He's always been a hot shot guy. Like you could argue of any player in tennis that he's got the best hot shots like consistently. But having said that, the rest of his game has come together. How he beat De Minaur yesterday was very methodical. Like protected his serve, kept De Minaur at bay. Like he's made some real growth. We've seen it on other surfaces, but I do the 12-month model. Wimbledon, really, Paris Olympics up until this point, he's become a completely different player and one to really watch at Roland Garros.
His movement, I'm really impressed by his movement. I think he's better physically. Not just like jokes aside. Like I think he's much physically stronger. I also think his serve has gotten better. His serve was always there, but it's a massive weapon. And we talk about one-handed backhands. Like I was asking everybody on the show the other day, who's better, Tsitsipas or Musetti? Everybody said Musetti has the better one-handed backhand. They're all like, yeah, Tsitsipas has a better forehand. But it's not bad. Musetti's forehand is not bad. He's able to come to the net. He's so smooth. And he's still crazy young, Mitch. Like, he's been on tour for a long time, but he's is he younger than Sinner?
He's he's 23. Yeah. He's an 02 birth year, so 22, 23. Yeah.
So he's got so much leeway ahead of him as well. And so mature. I mean, the guy's got a kid already. Seems like well established in his personal life. Yeah, really nice guy. But yeah, I mean, this was coming for a long time. It's happened now. Remember, he was up 2-0 on Novak Djokovic at Roland Garros a few years back. Yeah, lost, but there were always signs of him being able to do this. And spot on analysis. Past 12 months, he's earned this.
Well, he's another one to watch, as is, and we'll see how this tournament goes. Jack Draper on clay, even he's another one that if he does it on clay, then we have to discuss, okay, what really is the ceiling? Because you could make an argument, best form right now of all tennis players, given everything. Draper's on the short list, probably on the first-hand list of where we are right now.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go he's first, and then I was going to say...
I wasn't going to go that high, but still. Top
he's
5
on the list.
form
He's
now.
For sure on the list. The thing with Jack Draper, because You're right. I mean, that forehand, I don't know where I put that right now. It's top three. It's top three to me, on any surface. I mean, the thing's a weapon. The way he's able to move around and, hit it from anywhere and kind of avoid his backhand. What he did at Indian Wells was crazy impressive. He's a guy that to me has that confidence stepping onto a court. He believes that he's the man and he should win. And I think you need that. Like, you can't go on court being like, yeah, if everything falls into place, it'll work out. You have to have 100%, 10 out of 10 belief that you're the guy or you're the girl that's going to win this match. And so I've loved his rise. I think he wins a major, if not multiple majors. Has the game to get to number one in the world. Because like I said, right now it's depending on what we get from Sinner, like it's anybody's ball game. I still think Ruud is the favorite,
right?
In Madrid.
Yeah.
But if they play each other in that final, for some reason, I feel like Jack just believes more.
The way he was playing against Tommy Paul, it's been a rough go for Paul in that head-to-head, but the spin he was putting on it, how high he was taking the ball, like there's just so much thought.
That was like a Coco Iga statement match.
It was. Draper's in the mix. Well, other players, I mean, not just in Madrid, but going forward on the men's side, is there anyone else you like on the clay? We've got a lot of buzz about Arthur Fils, who's the French guy coming in, and there's certainly others, but are there other players going into RG this year that you think could be making statements?
I still like Tommy Paul.
Yeah.
I know that match didn't go his way, but I still like him on this surface. I think, he's got everything to be able to get it done as well. I think Ben Shelton still has so much upside to be able to make deep runs. The fact that he was able to get to a final on clay was a huge step, in my opinion, for him. They're all so young. So I think Lerner Tien is a guy that can do some things on clay. I know he was able to make a run in Australia. Yeah, I'd keep an eye out on him at RG as well. I don't believe in de Minaur as much as everybody else does, I think. I think he's another guy that beats everybody he should, but doesn't necessarily beat the players above him. Like, I don't see him beating Sinner. I don't see him beating Alcaraz. I just don't.
On the young front, I mean, we talked about it. I'm curious to see Fils, how he responds to being a French player in France. Like, it could go a couple different ways.
Yeah.
Mensik today had a good performance, could have won the match. Cerundolo, just a great clay court player, as we mentioned. I thought Mensik's performance, being one of the youngest players to ever make the Madrid quarterfinals, was impressive. And then, Fonseca, right? Like, Tommy Paul just out-professionaled him. Like, he won a few points. It was a great match, 2 tie breaks. So I want to see, because it happens every year, right? There will be young players that step up at Roland Garros and, captivate the crowd. Who will it be?
Yeah, I think when it comes to these players like Mensik, and by the way, it's so frustrating because it's Mensik and then it's Mensik, and then some players are saying, or some people are saying Mensik, and I'm like, the button clearly says now Mensik. Like, I don't think you can deny that.
That's the ATP button, yeah.
He has done interviews where he still says Mensik, and so I'm like, bro, I don't. It's what do you want me to say?
Just let us have free reign then. If it's going to be if it's going to be a variety, you know what it is too. By the way, Steve, it's a good point. Tennis players are too nice sometimes. Like, they're just too nice. It was Maria Sakkari, because people were calling her Sakkari, and she's like, I didn't want to correct anyone. I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. Just too nice.
And then some people say Sakkari instead of Sakkari, and I'm like. Anyways, all that said, I think I said it on TC Live. I was like, Mensik. Mensik, sheesh, his game is sick. Like,
it is.
And he is one of those ones to watch, just like Fonseca. All that said, with teenagers, they're not going to be consistent. They're just not. And so you're going to get some incredible performances. You're going to get upsets, because their upside is like an Alcaraz. Like, they can take out. I think Mensik can take out anybody on any given day because of his serve. I think Fonseca, because of that forehand, can take out anybody on any given day. And with the crowds, I mean, they love him. And he's such a cool guy. Got to talk to him at Indian Wells for like 10 minutes, and just the most humble, cool confidence, really, really, really dope guy. But you're not, in my opinion, you're not going to get consistency with any of these young players. And we shouldn't expect that. Like, they're teenagers. Even on the women's side, when somebody breaks through, and then people, like with Coco, who's still only 21 years old, and people are like, when she loses, the sky is falling. It's like, no, she's 21. She'll be fine. And they'll be fine. Do they make deep runs at RG? What's a deep run? Like, I don't think they make the quarters.
Fees would be the only one I would consider, because he's further along in this development. He's a little further along. Is he even? I think he's a little older than some of them too. So yeah,
he's still next gen though. So he's like 20, 21.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of game. I like Feast a lot. He's another cool cat.
Great forehand. Has been consistent, making pretty much deep runs in just about every tournament. And the crowd will uplift you, or they'll turn on you fast. So
I think they're going to uplift him.
Yeah.
They haven't had somebody since Jannik Noah.
That's just crazy.
On the men's side.
I know.
Right?
I know. Mary Pierce in 2000, Noah in 83. That's it. It's just, it's crazy.
He's the guy.
He is.
I believe in him. I like this young.
You know what it was for?
We've talked about so many different names right now.
For me, it's how you handle losses and then bounce and move forward. He lost a brutal match to Medvedev, like how it ended in Indian Wells.
Yeah.
And then had a good Miami. He just put it behind him and played well, and that's impressive. I think anyway.
Yeah. He's got that demeanor. Like he's a happy. I think he's like a happy dude. Like he smiles a lot, but like cool. He's got that cool factor.
Yeah.
I don't think he's easily rattled.
No.
And the other thing, Mitch, and I say this all the time, and I know we talked about this with Danielle in the past, but what we see from them on court is not necessarily who they are off court. And so we judge them mentally for how they're reacting on court, where, the fact he can deal with things way differently once the match is over and kind of reset and get back on court and have a different perspective. So I think we forget about that. It's like, oh, I saw him or her go nuts on the court the last time we saw them. They don't have any mental control. It's like, no, like that was literally in the moment. Imagine something disastrous happening to you in life. You're going to react. And then, you're going to sleep on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and like think about it, and like it's going to settle in. And then hopefully you have like a little bit of perspective and a different take on things. So
the name of the game is you're professional. Your job is to win. The stakes are, as we mentioned, so high. And I understand that completely. You have a job to do. People might not like how you do it, but you have a job to do. So that's where I'm at.
Whatever it takes to achieve that greatness.
Well, Steve, this has been a blast. The last thing I do have for you here on the Inside in Tennis, because we could talk forever on the Inside in Tennis podcast, but I put it down here, and I want to ask your thoughts on electric line calling on clay. Yeah. Because I would just want to open the floor to you, because we've got to this point where electric line calling is coming in across the board, but on clay, I think there might be some kinks to work out, it's safe to say, based on some things that have happened in the player reaction. But I want to hear your opinion on what we've seen and this change to the sport we all know and love.
So my overall thought, Mitch, is that we want to get as close to perfection as we can get. We're never going to achieve perfection in any aspect of life, sadly.
Fact.
That said, I think electronic line calling gets us closer to that. There are going to be missed calls. And there were missed calls when we had lines people, when the chair came down, every other point. I think we're speeding up the game by having it. I think the players in general have a better confidence in the calls than they did when it was based on humans. One, we're getting at least the mark correct. Sometimes when people would disagree on which mark it was, that was absurd. And if the chair umpire said it was this mark and the player said it was this mark, then you're disagreeing on that. And then the ones that are really close, because I think the ATP Tour did an amazing job of laying out how electronic line calling works on clay. So there may be a call or a ball mark that looks like it's in when it's really out, and there may be a mark that looks like it's out when it's really in, just by how the grains of the clay work. Now, there's going to be mistakes, and Sasha Zverev, pointed it out. That ball was out. No doubt. There is a margin of error. And by the way, there's a margin of error in electronic line calling on hard courts. There's a margin of error electronic line calling on grass. So it's not perfect. I think 10 out of 10 times I'd rather have electronic line calling than have lines people, and especially on clay, having that chair umpire come down and check out a stupid mark. They see this and the player sees this and they argue, and it leads to controversy that is unnecessary. Now we're going to have certain controversies, but what I want to see is, and I don't know which, actually I do know, and I don't like to call out certain electronic line calling systems. The one I personally like the best is Fox 10. And the reason I like it the best is because you actually have a picture. They show you the slow-mo of the ball coming down, where it lands. So you have the virtual photo, and you have the actual picture video of the ball, and then you have the call. And to me, as humans, we are see it to believe it. And so when we only have the electronic picture, we question, because we're like, well, where's the video? I saw it differently. I see the video review differently. You're only showing me that. So Fox 10, their technology shows you both. And if I can see that, I believe it. And so I know it's a bidding process, and, I don't know how one electronic line calling company gets the rights over another, but theirs, to me, is the most effective because I have that video.
I agree with that, and I'm going to just add, I love it. I love this because, yes, we are much better off, more accurate with electronic line calling, even on clay. Yep. Also, I like some tension. So I like the fact that this is the right amount of tension. It's great. It's good. I don't want to lose those. That's a Mark Petchey special, where it's like, we don't want to get perfect to where we take all the drama out. I think this is good. There's going to be issues. You're not going to get perfection. I love it. I'm all for it.
And Mitch, I love the fact that Zverev took his phone out and took a photo and posted it on the internet. I know he got fined.
Sabalenka too.
It. So what?
Yeah.
You were wrong. He proved that you were wrong. And that's awesome. Please, if there's calls, take your phones out, take photos, and post it on the internet so we can all see it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. We don't want it to just be all buttoned up and all that, because I know Petchey really liked the challenge system, because you still had lines people, but players could challenge. In my opinion, while it was the best challenge system in all of sports, it still meant you weren't getting 100% of the calls correct.
Right.
Because if a player didn't challenge and it was wrong, that changes a whole match.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to put that on the player. Right. If we have the technology to get it right every single time, I want to get it right every single time.
It's great because we're getting much better officiating, much better calls, but we still have those moments where we see some player emotion. So yeah, I co-sign on this completely. Steve Weissman, always a blast. So I guess we're just going to keep. Usually I ask the guests what's next when I finish up, but I know it's next. Just Tennis Channel Live, and then Paris, and then TC Live today tomorrow.
We've got, I think it's Tracy Austin, Jim Courier today. Andy Roddick's back on the show tomorrow. I don't know when this airs. But what a great week at TC Live. Hall of Famers all over the place. I think Andy's going to be doing Rome as well. So awesome having Roddick on the show. Going to Paris, it's going to be me, Prakash, Chanda Rubin on the desk. So the old squad is back together. Those are my people. Cannot wait for that. So excited to be on the grounds in Paris. I've been going every year since 2016. So, I love going to these events. Paris is so near and dear to my heart. Probably the most charming city in the world, in my opinion. And it's going to be a thrill. So, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the rest of Madrid, Rome, and then all of a sudden we're going to be on grass. Maybe have me back on the show to talk about that. But it's never ending, and that's what makes your podcast so good. And by the way, you've been doing a spectacular job. I should have said this at the start, but you get such great guests from commentators and analysts, but also the players that you're getting is so cool. to see the variety of players that you get. And so we get to learn about some players that we may not know as much about, and get a different, kind of viewpoint on the game. So keep doing what you're doing. And, it's always a pleasure to join you.
I appreciate that a ton, Steve. All the credit goes to the guests, people like yourself, for telling their stories on this show. And thanks for being a good inspiration for myself. I'm studying you too from a distance. I got my pen and notes out too. But
you got my number.
Yeah.
So you can always text me.
Steve Weissman, all the best. We'll have you on the show again soon. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure.
That was Steve Weissman. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. It's available on all your platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, you name it. Just search Inside In Tennis podcast. Subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Get those episodes automatically downloaded to your device. And check out the video episodes on the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals as well. So we're back next week. More action. Rome Masters is going to be coming up, and then it's RG Paris 2025. So can't wait for that. For Steve Weissman, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. I'll talk to you soon.